going to force the second shield from the opponent, and then I thought this Nidoqueen has so much HP, so much energy, they have to go for the Poison Fang bait. What is going on, everyone? Ox here with another video. If you're new to the channel, we do upload Pokemon Go content mostly related to PvP, and if you're a returning subscriber like Juan Moran, thank you for the support. In today's video, we are taking a look at some more battles in the Open Great League, featuring a team with two more Pokemon that did receive move updates for Season 12. The two Pokemon being featured for this video are both water types, both of which did receive significant upgrades on PvPoke with access to new moves. The first one being Lanturn with Surf, and the second one being Tentacruel with Scald. For this video, we will be using both Tentacruel and Lanturn on the same team. What makes this pairing unique is that they are actually a double water duo that loses to ground types, with Lanturn having a secondary typing of electric and Tentacruel having a secondary typing of poison. Both these Pokemon are going to be weak to ground types. For that reason, I decided to pair these two Pokemon in the lead with a Trevenant that is going to provide some coverage for Pokemon such as Galarian, Stunfisk, and Swampert. Of course, Trevenant in the lead does not eliminate all threats. Pokemon such as Altaria, Nidoqueen, and even an opposing Trevenant will cause issues for this team, but hopefully we'll be able to play around them. If you enjoyed this type of content, please consider leaving a like and a comment down below. It really helps the channel grow. And without any further ado, let's jump into the first battle right now. So before we jump into these battles, this team looks like it will be operating in a classic ABB style. I think Lanturn makes the most sense as the safe switch on this team, but there might be some instances depending on the lead where I decide to swap out into Tentacruel instead. Jumping into this first battle, we have Trevenant into Bastiodon, and it looks like the game is actually not going to give us a countdown, just go straight to the battle after a delay. You love to see it. Going to throw the Shadow Ball here at the Bastiodon, and I am anticipating the opponent to throw a flamethrower. So we swap out into Lanturn in order to catch this move for resisted damage. The good news now is that the Bastiodon is going to be dry on energy. The bad news is that Lanturn, although a very solid pick, is going to have a couple of matchups where it is walled as a safe switch. Having access to Surf is going to make a couple of those matchups, particularly against ground types, a lot better, but it doesn't really do too much for us here in this matchup against Altaria. The good news here is that Altaria actually is a pretty big core breaker to this team, so being able to lure it out here with the Lanturn is going to work out in our favor. Not too interested in winning switch advantage, so just going to allow the Lanturn to go down, come in with the Tentacruel, and look to poison jab down this Altaria. The opponent actually swaps out instead into the Lanturn. I'm going to throw an acid spray here and then swap out into the Trevenant just so the defense is lowered enough to the point where one Seed Bomb will be able to take out the Lanturn before it's able to reach a move against Trevenant. I don't think throwing the acid spray is necessary, especially since this Lanturn is actually running Water Gun, but the opponent does decide to use a shield here, so at this point we are going to use one of our own. We want to keep this Trevenant relatively healthy because we still need to get rid of that Altaria, and we still have a Bastiodon to worry about in the back. After taking out this Lanturn, if the opponent decides to come back in with the Altaria, I'm actually going to attempt to Shadow Claw all the way down. This will leave us at a Shadow Ball for the Bastiodon, and that is going to leave it at a very low HP. At this point, once the Tentacruel comes back in, the ideal play would have been to go for the very disrespectful Acid Spray Poison Jab finish, but I guess it's still too early in the season for that type of BM, so we just go for the Scald, lock up the victory. GG, let's hop into the next one. You know, we're not trying to showboat here like Liverpool dropping 9 goals on Bournemouth and then getting some nice karma in the Champions League from Napoli, slapping them down 4-1. Could have been a lot worse for them too, but we'll leave it at that. We got a Trevenant mirror match here in the next battle. Trevenant, of course, is pretty challenging for our backline, so we're forced to stay in this matchup. The opponent catches the Seed Bomb onto their Bastiodon. We swap out into Lanturn. This is a very solid matchup to find ourselves in now. Going to build up to double Surfs. Throw the first one right here. Lanturn, of course, could tank any move coming from the Bastiodon, and ideally we want to exit this matchup with energy stored on the Lanturn so that the Trevenant is forced to throw their energy, forcing a CMP tie, at which point our Trevenant could safely come back in without having to worry about using one of our shields. So as you're going to see here, we are going to click the Thunderbolt, but the opponent, aware of our energy, is going to throw the Seed Bomb. We are basically sacrificing the Lanturn here as an extra shield. Trevenant will come back in, going going to outpace to this seed bomb, and the opponent's actually going to allow their Trevenant to go down. Looking to instantly swap out, and it's actually a Swampert in the back. This of course is a very bad matchup for Tentacruel. We will outpace to an Acid Spray before they reach an Earthquake, and after taking a shield from the opponent, I think we actually could safely allow this Earthquake to come through, save both of the shields for Trevenant, and close out this game. But the opponent is actually going for Hydro Cannon baits in the hopes of forcing our shields. This is going to allow us to reach another Scald, which gets the second shield from the opponent, and although they are going to mud shot all the way down and being absolutely loaded on energy, they are going to need to outpace to 3 Hydro Cannons before we get to 1 Seed Bomb, because we have a 2 shield advantage. That means the opponents in this battle and Liverpool both have something in common. Neither of them is coming back from this defeat. GG, let's hop into the next one. You know, heading into this season, I never thought I'd see the day where Liverpool became a worse team than Manchester United, even if it's temporary. And Napoli is a very good team, but that was a very poor performance from Liverpool. And speaking of poor performances, let's talk about the lag in this game. We got one of the worst leads to possibly see with this team, and to make matters worse, we are lagging here, falling behind on energy. And it's actually funny that we're talking about Liverpool, because I'm pretty sure this is one of the games where I just got completely outplayed. So after throwing the seed bomb to get the shield, we swap out into Lanturn, going for the surf right here, which is going to force the second shield from the opponent. And then I thought this Nidoqueen has so much HP, so much energy, they have to go for the poison fang bait. How about a poison self? Bang! There it is. Now we're in a very difficult spot because I don't even think Trevenant could reach another seed bomb. That's going to force me to come in with Tentacruel. At this point, I'm not even counting because I'm playing like Liverpool against Napoli. So we end up shielding a Poison Fang. And why not go ahead and shield a second? We are absolutely getting destroyed here by this Nidoqueen. Swap out into Trevenant. They come in with the Umbreon. This game is over, and I may as well go join Thomas Tuchel after that performance, because guess what? I did not forget about you Chelsea fans. Liverpool weren't the only ones embarrassing themselves this week. Chelsea also caught that smoke from Dinamo Zagreb, and the performance by me in this battle was arguably worse than both of those teams' performances combined. So don't feel too bad. Alright, so let's jump into this next set of battles. We are still running with the same team. Trevenant in the lead, Double Water in the back. We have Ariados here in the first battle. This is pretty challenging for Trevenant. Going to swap out into Tentacruel this time, anticipating Ariados not to stay in this matchup. I'd rather preserve the Lanturn for a potential matchup against Ariados later in this battle. Opponent decides to throw a lunge here in order to lower the attack before swapping out. This tells me that they likely do not have a hard counter for Tentacruel, and they come in with a Miltank. Miltank is another Pokemon that received a move update for Season 12, gaining access to Rollout as a fast move. Rollout is going to make Miltank very spammy with those body slams, but that is pretty much all Rollout is good for, because as you're going to see, there is no fast move pressure whatsoever. And after Tentacruel lands this Scald, we are going to be able to Poison Jab down this Miltank and take switch advantage despite having our attack lowered earlier from lunge. That just tells you how little damage Rollout is actually doing. Tentacruel able to get off an Acid Spray against this Ariados before going down. We now bring in the Lanturn. This is the matchup that we wanted. Lunge comes through, opponent swaps out into a Sableye. We are going to throw a Surf, but this is looking pretty bad for Trevenant right here. This entire team actually was pretty challenging for Trevenant to see. The opponent is going to throw a Foul Play. We're going to shield this up. I think at this point in the battle, we are going to throw one Seed Bomb and then just double shield. Look to Shadow Claw all the way down. Potentially force the final shield against the Ariados with a Shadow Ball, or they might even decide to let it go, preserving that shield for the Lanturn. Foul Play comes through, need to commit to the complete farm, able to do it, and I think the only lose con at this point is to bait, but we don't do that here. All we do is bang! There it is. Opponent trying to call the bait, that's gonna seal their fate. GG, let's hop into the next one. So jumping into this next battle, we have Trevenant into Altaria. This is one of the more challenging leads to see with this team, and it requires a complete team effort. I think the best way to play this out is staying in with the Trevenant, throwing a Shadow Ball, and then hoping to catch a resisted Sky Attack onto the Lanturn. That is not easy to do. My timing probably could have been a bit better, but the opponent still decides to throw the Sky Attack. That's a big break, and typically with Altaria, you're going to see a Toxicroak Steel type core in the back. A little surprised to see the Toxicroak come in here instead of the Steel type, and Lanturn with Surf actually does very well against Toxicroak, a lot better than before when it only had access to Hydro Pump. So this is a matchup where we should be taking a shield advantage, if not switch advantage. I am not sure what happened with the editing right there, but Toxicroak did use a shield. Damn it, Harry, I told you to stay on the bench, don't edit these videos. Sorry about that, everyone. Let's get back to the battle. Toxicroak going for the Sludge Bomb. We are going to shield it up with the Trevenant, commit to the Shadow Claw down, and if Altaria wants to come back in, it's going to have to shield up this Shadow Ball. Now after forcing that final shield, we come in with Tentacruel. Opponent swaps out into that Steel ground type we did not want to see. Going to throw the Scald here, and to be honest, I'm okay with letting this Earthquake go through. I think with a shield, Trevenant should be able to build up to 2 moves, one of them taking out the Stunfisk, the other one for Altaria, but once again the opponent is going for the bait, which allows Tentacruel to reach another Scald, which is going to take out the Stunfisk. Altaria will get some farm, which is what we wanted to avoid, but since we do still have a shield advantage, Altaria has to commit to the Dragon Breath down. With the chip damage from Poison Jab, Trevenant is able to come back in, Shadow Claw down, and we are able to take this game. Still on a win streak like Manchester United without Harry Maguire. Trevenant into Lanturn. This is one of the best possible leads to see for this team. Opponent swaps out into Mandibuzz. We come in with the Lanturn, and this is a pretty solid situation to find ourselves in. Whenever you find yourself in a matchup like this that seems to be quite RPS, the most important thing is to maintain the alignment. You want to keep the Trevenant onto the Lanturn, and you want to keep the Lanturn away from the Tentacruel. So long as you can do that, you typically will end up winning these games in a hard counter fashion. Because the opponent did invest 1 shield, we will have to match a shield here as well onto the Lanturn in order to maintain this alignment, at which point we will be able to spark this Mandibuzz down. That is going to leave us with a Thunderbolt ready to go. The opponent comes in with a Lanturn of their own. We're going to throw this Thunderbolt here. If they commit to the complete spark down, we'll actually be able to reach a second Thunderbolt. This will either get the shield or put them extremely low. They decide to let that go through. Trevenant will come in. We could tank every move coming from the Lanturn right here without needing to invest a shield. The opponent is going to get Shadow Claw down, at which point the decision is made that they don't want the smoke. Able to take that game. Hard counter city, nothing the opponent could do. Let's hop into the next one. So for this next battle, we are leading Trevenant into Toxicroak, another very positive lead. The opponent is going to swap out into a Pelipper, and this is possibly the best case scenario for Lanturn. We are resisting all of the moves coming from Pelipper, and because it is a water flying type, we are actually dealing double super effective damage with these sparks, which means we don't even need to throw a charge move, allowing us to completely farm down this Pelipper, leaving with more energy than CM Punk at the AEW All Out Media Scrum. Absolutely loaded, and the Toxicroak comes back in, going to have to start using up some shields for these Surfs. We may actually even be able to reach 3, and this leaves the opponent in a position where if they want to preserve their Toxicroak, they will need to invest both of their shields, which is going to leave them in a 2 shield deficit, never a position you want to find yourself in. Trevenant will now come back in. We are going to respect the Sludge Bomb using our first shield, and the opponent swaps out into Mandibuzz. Here comes the Tentacruel. This isn't the greatest matchup for Tentacruel, however with a shield advantage, it should be pretty straightforward. Going for the Acid Spray here to lower the defense. The correct play probably is to just go for double Scald. However, I wasn't sure if I wanted to invest my shield just yet, so I wanted to lower the defense in case we need to take this out with a potential Shadow Ball from the Trevenant. In hindsight, that definitely will not be the case. Going for the Scald right here, Mandibuzz is going to survive this with 1 HP, going to allow this foul play to come through. This will take out the Tentacruel. Trevenant can now safely come in. 1 Shadow Claw will take it out. This sets up for the Shadow Ball, which is going to be more than enough to send this Toxicroak on a one-way ticket out of Hard Counter City. Sometimes in GBL, that's just how things be. GG. Let's hop into the next one. And here we go, BM Joe in the final battle. So let's see if we get some bad manners from this opponent. Trevenant into Nidoqueen. This is one of the more challenging leads to see. Not as bad as the Shadow Nidoqueen, of course, but still pretty rough. Going to allow this first Poison Fang to come through. We are then going to throw the Seed Bomb and look to swap out. In this particular scenario, I would prefer to swap out into Lanturn because Surf is going to cost less energy than a Scald from Tentacruel. But as you can see, I made the wrong decision, and that was not the only wrong decision I made because I tried to call the Poison Fang bait once again and another Earth Power comes through. This time it was not from a Shadow, so we actually do survive, and the opponent then catches a Scald onto a Azumarill. But there might be one thing about this team you may have noticed. All three of these Pokemon have very solid matchups against the Azumarill. So after the Acid Spray debuff, Lanturn is going to come in, and it may as well have come in on a tractor with some harvesting tools because it is taking this Azumarill straight to the farm. After taking this next play rough, I'm actually going to swap out into Trevenant because I know I can Shadow Claw down here before the Azumarill reaches an Ice Beam. That is going to leave us with a Seed Bomb ready to throw at the Nidoqueen, and then we also have almost 2 Surfs ready to go on the Lanturn. Right here, I was actually looking for the simultaneous knockout, but the opponent decides to throw a Poison Fang. So if we now decide to shield, the Shadow Claw will go through and take out the Nidoqueen and also put us at a Seed Bomb ready to go for the next Pokemon. They decide to no shield. Trevenant goes down. Lanturn comes in loaded on energy. Surf gets the final shield from the opponent, and here comes the Thunderbolt for that electric finish. Actually not enough to KO, but 3 more sparks will get it done. That is going to complete the 5-0 set with this team. Trevenant, Double Water, a very fun team to run, and I think both Tentacruel and Lanturn have a lot of play in the current meta. These two Pokemon as a core do have quite a few weaknesses, especially within this meta, but at least in these battles, it worked pretty well. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving a like and a comment down below, and if you'd like to see more content like this, consider subscribing. Thanks for watching.